All right, I've decided that, however, whatever the main subject of the video is how I'm gonna, communicate with. So what do I mean by that? Well, what's up, gamers? We are talking about the Xbox 360 marketplace shutting down. I'm gonna be giving you my thoughts and opinions on the whole loss of indie games. And of course, I'm gonna tell you how I myself started to play on this console that is the Xbox 360. Ironically, I had the memory card version. I actually still have the memory card. It makes me wonder how far I got on the games that I did play. I'm also going to talk about how I'm going to jump into some franchises on the Xbox that I have not even played yet. So let's do it.
Why isn't it in the fucking game without a pre-order? You blind? Stupid fucking fanboyism.
Microtransactions and
DRM. Downloadable content.
Okay, so yes, if you've been living under a rock, there's, this is currently the talk of YouTube. There's other controversies, but this is also on how the marketplace is shutting down. There's going to be a loss of indie games, to which I will say, of course, is probably a good and a bad thing. A good thing in the sense for all of the bad indie games that were released. Not a lot, but, you get a lot of developers that they will create shit and put it out there, giving the good indie developers a bad name. Now, with that being said, more serious note, it is a loss, not only to those indie developers, but to gamers as a whole, because there is no physical form to a lot of these indie games. I've always felt that I'm surprised that a company hasn't shown up that wants to offer indie developers a home console that they can have a physical form of their games and that like and enjoy physical media, be able to purchase their indie game. The reason why we don't see physical releases on the 360, PS3, PS4, Xbox, newer consoles, etc. is because it's quite spendy to get that shit on there. And to me, it just kind of surprises me someone hasn't created an indie console for that exact reason. Make it cheaper for them to put their games on. It will now give them the opportunity to preserve their game and give gamers the opportunity to have a physical item, well as, of course, having that physical item for generations down the road. But that's my quick thoughts on at least that particular subject. So me, like I said, well, I probably didn't say, but I was mostly a PlayStation 2 kind of guy back in the day. Didn't have an Xbox, never had an Xbox, never played any of the games. PS3 comes out, I get a PS3. 360 doesn't interest me until I see a couple of trailers for a couple of RPGs, because this is the largest genre that I am interested in, that I play. So because of these two games, I went and I purchased a 360, which then means I jumped into, ironically, only one real franchise-based exclusive that was on the Xbox system, and that's the Fable series. And I started with Fable 2, which I know some people, diehard Fable fans, might find like I should tear up my gaming card, but you're just a fucking idiot, all right? I've often found that when it comes to certain franchises, there's usually a game or more than one game that seems to be some kind of controversy because it's not well liked. In the case of Fable 3, ladies and gentlemen, I played this game. I enjoyed it. But whether or not that's because I never played the first one is probably irrelevant. I ultimately feel like if I would have played the first one, I would enjoy this one too. Still, I wouldn't think any less of it. No more than, ironically, I did play Final Fantasy VIII was my first Final Fantasy game, which it was also controversial at its time on the PlayStation, even in the PlayStation 2, and still is to this day. But I myself am glad that I didn't start with the game that people have honest criticisms in comparison to later games, but it just kind of makes them seem like the first game franchise whore, if that makes any sense. Like they're a Fable whore or a Final Fantasy VII whore. Don't get me wrong. There's problems with, Fable 3. There's problems with Fable 2. There's a million problems with Fable Journey or Connect, whatever it was called. That game was just Now, I never jumped into Halo or Gears of War within of itself, which ironically, I was recently watching a video by Osmond Gold where I guess they were talking about how Halo series has gone down to shit. It just made me sit there wondering, as someone who's never played the franchise, like, well, how good can it be? How good was it? So I've actually decided that I'm actually going to jump into the Halo and Gears of War series, meaning I'll probably have to get an Xbox as well. But yeah, and kind of open up my library of whatever exclusives may have also come out and dabble in and see what all the hype is or was, and why there's such heavy criticism for certain franchises, such as with the direction of Halo, the direction of Gears of War, and see if those older games can kind of encapsulate, whatever that word is, all right? Like other fans of those series and what they like about it. Can it grab my attention? Will it grab me? You know, and then me eventually playing one of these games in said franchises that is not well liked to see if, oh yeah, I see it, I understand. That's pretty bad, all right? I mean, I could just watch and listen to people talk about it and be like, oh yeah, I get it, I understand. But I want more of that personal experience, and like, I'm going to play the first Halo game, the first Gears of War game. Granted, can't really do any multiplayer if there was any for said games at the time. The greater point being is that, you know, eventually, you know, to jump into that. And this, of course, eventually led me, you know, like more recently, I picked up this game. Mostly because on eBay, the PS3 version was more expensive than the 360 version. So I bought this one. And then I was at a video game store and I thought I would get this one. But I'll probably buy the quote unquote original for the Xbox as well, just to try that and play it in its original artistic format. Anyway, this is pretty much all I have to say when it comes to the Xbox 360 marketplace shutting down. You know, it's got its negatives, which is, I think, detrimental to mostly the indie game side of gaming, but this goes for any kind of indie game released digitally on any home console. This is the nature of the beast. It's going to happen. This is why I still feel that there needs to be some kind of indie console, home console, which is cheaper for indie developers to create a physical copy for their game. I think that would be better. Beneficial not only to them, but to us gamers as a whole as well. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video in some fashion or form. And remember, gamers, because yes, we're going to make the outro also specific to whatever I'm talking about. If you're not voicing your thoughts and concerns about the bullshit in gaming, the bullshit developers do, and yes, sometimes gamers, you just might be a part of the motherfucking problem.